That doesn't really make sense. It says, on the calendar, it says today is Friday, it's not suitable for fasting, it says fasting fast.
No, like 7 o'clock.
Actually, it's okay because tomorrow's fasting for Ekadashi. Today's fasting for Kishore.
Oh, so we're not doing the Akashi fast, right?
No.
No, it's not. It's Mahadvadashi tomorrow.
But it says not suitable for fasting, but then we fast half a day.
Well, because it's my appearance.
But it's not suitable, right? It says it's not suitable.
The question is, are you suitable?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
It's like there's a light on your bag.
I'm sorry? Oh, yeah, that thing turns on. Thank you. Okay. Janardhan Das, can I have the pair of good kartals? The one pair. It's at least mediocre. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah. Actually, not a half-day fast. It's a half-day fast for Gorkishore. All right, give me 1 second more. Okay. No drum? I'm just kidding. Where is everybody? Why don't you grab one of those songbooks? We're going to sing Ye Anilo Premadana. It's 93, I think. Look in the index. Wonder what happened to Rajendra Nandana today. Is it page 93? J, look up, do you have an index there at the back? The index of first lines? I forget if it's J and Elo or Ye and Elo, it may be at the end. Hare Krishna. Depending on you, Janardhan Das.
You said 93?
I don't know. What's the first line of the song?
It's another one.
No, it's a different. Janardhan, bring me the book. Prabhu, Haribol, hello there. Bring me the book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's okay. 91. Yeah. Yeah, right here. You can use this. Okay, all ready? Jaya Nilo Premadana Karuna Prachur Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Kaha Mora Swarup Rupa Kaha Sanatan Kandasa Raghunata Patita Pavan Kaha Mora Bhata Juga Kaha Kaviraj Eka Kali Kota Gela Gorana Taraj Basane Kuti Bo Mata Anale Pashibo Gauranga Gunera Nidhi Kota Gele Pabo Se Sabba Sangira Sange Je Koilo Bila Se Sangana Paya Kande Narotamada Jaya Nilo Premadhana Karuna Prachur Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur. He who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy, where has such a personality as Srinivasacharya gone? Where are my Sub Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all these devotees in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. Hare Krishna. Have we lost Larry? Is he in the kitchen?
Sort of. He was there a few minutes ago. I don't know if he was there now.
I guess, anyway. Hare Krishna. Hey.
Whatever you want here,
No, I said something to him because he kept insisting today is not suitable for fasting. Just to inform you, nowhere on that calendar does it say half-day fast for the appearance or disappearance of anybody, including Srila Prabhupada. That's not there. That's just not. That half-day fast is something that's it's not part of the actual Vaishnava calendar. It's a tradition. That's in ISKCON. So, therefore, today, because today is Ekadashi, but it's not the kind of Ekadashi that we fast. We have every so often we have something called the Mahadvadashi, and that appears as Ekadashi. It's kind of confusing because devotees know to fast on Ekadashi, so we call it Ekadashi. But in my day, when we were coming up, it would be a Mahadvadashi. I mean, you fast on that day, not on Ekadashi. So usually, Gorkishore Das Babaji's disappearance day falls on Ekadashi, and it's a half-day fast plus Ekadashi. But this year, his disappearance always falls on Ekadashi, but this particular Ekadashi is, you understand, so tomorrow is the actual fasting day. So Larry was insisting that this day is not suitable for fasting, so why are we fasting? Because it's a whole different thing. It's not suitable for fasting as an Ekadashi fast. Anyway, Hare Krishna. So now, he won't be joining us, I guess. Maybe he's in the kitchen. Okay, so let me just readjust this. All right. So now, we are going to proceed with the Bhagavatam class. Narayam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamadirit. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashtaprayasha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. Stupid thing. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in the best of songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. So, let me just get... On this 30th day of October 2017 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we're starting a new chapter. This is Canto 3, the Status Quo, Chapter 27, Understanding Material Nature. Text number 1. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Prakriti Stopi Purusho Najjate Prakritaya Gunai Avikarara Kartritvan Nirgunat Vajalakavat. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Prakriti Stopi Purusho Najjate Prakritaya Gunai Avikarara Kartritvan Nirgunadva Jalakavat. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Prakatistopi Purusho Najyate Prakataya Gunai Avikarada Kartvidvan Nirgunadva Jalakavat. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Prakatistopi Purusho Najyate Prakataya Gunai Avikarada Kartvidvam Nirgunadva Jalakavat. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Prakatistopi Purusho Najyate Prakataya Gunai Avikarada Kartvidvam Nirgunadva Jalakavat. Ryan, you can do it. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Prakatistopi Purusho Najyate Prakataya Gunai Avikarada Kartvidvam Nirgunadva Jalakavat. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha, the personality of Godhead said, Prakatistaha, residing in the material body. Api, although. Purushaha, the living entity. Na, not. Ajyate, is affected. Prakrtai, of material nature. Gunai, by the modes. Avikarat, from being without change. Akartritvat, by freedom from proprietorship. Nirgunatvat, from being unaffected by the qualities of material nature. Jala, on water. Arkavat, like the sun. Translation. The personality of Godhead Kapila continued. When the living entity is thus unaffected by the modes of material nature, because he is unchanging and does not claim proprietorship, he remains apart from the reactions of the modes, although abiding in a material body, just as the sun remains aloof from its reflection on water. Please repeat. The personality of Godhead Kapila continued. When the living entity is thus unaffected by the modes of material nature, because he is unchanging and does not claim proprietorship, he remains apart from the reactions of the modes, although abiding in a material body, just as the sun remains aloof from its reflection on water. Purport. In the previous chapter, Lord Kapila Dev has concluded that simply by beginning the discharge of devotional service, one can attain detachment and transcendental knowledge for understanding the science of God. Here the same principle is confirmed. A person who is detached from the modes of material nature remains just like the sun reflected on water. When the sun is reflected on water, the movement of the water or the coolness or unsteadiness of the water cannot affect the sun. Similarly, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha, srimadbhagavatam 127. When one engages fully in the activities of devotional service, Bhakti Yoga, he becomes just like the sun reflected on water. Although a devotee appears to be in the material world, actually he is in the transcendental world. As the sun reflected on water appears to be on the water, but is many millions of miles away from the water, so one engaged in the Bhakti Yoga process is nirguna, or unaffected by the qualities of material nature. Avikara means without change. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that each and every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and thus his eternal position is to cooperate or to dovetail his energy with the Supreme Lord. That is his unchanging position. As soon as he employs his energy and activities for sense gratification, this change of position is called vikara. Similarly, even in this material body, when he practices devotional service under the direction of the spiritual master, he comes to the position which is without change because that is his natural duty. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, liberation means reinstatement in one's original position. The original position is one of rendering service to the Lord, bhakti yogena bhaktya. When one becomes detached from material attraction and engages fully in devotional service, that is changelessness. Akartritvat means not doing anything for sense gratification. When one does something at his own risk, there is a sense of proprietorship and therefore a reaction. But when one does everything for Krishna, there is no proprietorship over the activities. By changelessness and by not claiming the proprietorship of activities, one can immediately situate himself in the transcendental position in which one is not touched by the modes of material nature, just as the sun is unaffected by its reflection on water. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chukshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Shri Parampara. So, having learned in some detail about the creation, how this very body that we have in this world has been manifested by the interaction of the modes of nature with the false ego, now we are learning, or now we begin a chapter which begins with how the living entity can be unaffected by these modes of nature. In the conditioned state, if we don't do anything, we're going to be affected by the modes of nature, because that's the nature of this material world. So the process of detaching ourselves or extricating ourselves from the material world entails transcending the modes of nature. This is clear in the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is entitled The Three Modes of Nature. At the end, Krishna says one should rise above these modes, and Arjuna asks, well, how does one do that, and how does one recognize someone who has risen above the modes? And the basic, first Krishna describes the symptoms, so you can recognize someone, and that's someone who you want to associate with, because it means a devotee, pure devotee. And that basically it's that you're untouched, or you remain equipoise amongst the usual dualities of this world. Heat and cold, pleasure and pain, blame and praise. The word tulya is used in several verses, which means unaffected, equal. And the method for doing so, mam chiyova bicharena bhakti yogena sevate soganan samati jayatan brahmabhuya kalpate. That third line says, that person, or devotee, gunan samatit jayatan. Atitya means to transcend, sam means completely. So such a person who is unflinching in devotional service. Avyabhichari. Vyabhichari means fleeting. Avyabhichari means steady. So mam chiyo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate. One who's serving me with devotion, with unflinching devotion, that transcends the modes of nature and comes to the level of Brahman. Now, what is that level of Brahman? That's described in the next verse. Brahmano hi pratishtaham amrita vyavyasacha shastratasya shadharmasya sukasyakantikasya. The first thing is that Brahman is resting on me. So the Brahman is subordinate to Krishna. That's a very important point, because the Maya bodies, the impersonalists, say, no, the ultimate absolute truth is the Brahman, is undifferentiated, no details, simply the white light. And when that Brahman wants to interact with this material world, it takes on a form. So Krishna, or God, is a subordinate manifestation of the absolute. That's their idea, which is fallacious. So as Krishna says, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Pratishta means the basis. And aham means I am the basis of Brahman. It's emanating from me in the Govinda prayers, Brahma Samhita, Yasya Prabha, Prabhavato. Yasya means Govinda's shine, Govinda's effulgence. That's what the Brahman is. So, the science is, or the logic is that Krishna himself is always beyond the modes. There's one verse that Prabhupada would often quote, and I don't have quite it memorized here, but I have it pulled out. Oh, here it is. Okay. Etad ishanam ishasya prakatistopi tadgunayana yujjade sadatmastai yata buddhistadashraya. This is very pertinent. Here is the divinity of the personality of Godhead. This is how the verse begins. Etad ishanam. Ishanam is divinity. Isha is the divine, is the person of Godhead. And Ishasya means of the divine. So here's the divinity of the divine. And that is, he's not affected by the qualities of material nature, the gunas. Although he's in contact with them, he's in the middle of them. He comes down and he engages in his pastimes, and he seems to be within the modes, but he's not affected by the modes. He's always transcendental. Nayujjate sadatmastar. He's always fixed in his position, even though he's engaging with them and seems to be in the modes. Then, similarly, one who has taken shelter, tarashraya, is all his intelligence, his consciousness is also not influenced by the material qualities. So this is an important understanding. We're struggling with that. Being affected by the modes means to be conditioned. What are the modes? The modes of passion and ignorance, which cover our knowledge and deepen our involvement in the false ego, which is how this whole body is created, right? We have to come from the false ego to the real ego. Ego means your sense of self, your identity. So the false ego centers on the physical body and the subtle body also. And that's all we know. We've forgotten everything else. We've certainly forgotten our life in the spiritual world. We've forgotten our activities as pure spirit, as servants of Krishna. So what do we know? We know our life in this particular body and interacting with the sense objects and identifying with the connections that the body has with other bodies and things, the whole vast web of illusion. And that's how we've lived for millions of years, life after life, in the modes. Sometimes in the mode of passion, sometimes in the mode of ignorance, sometimes a little bit in the mode of goodness. But all of the mode of goodness is always tinged with the lower modes in this material world. So the only hope for waking up is to practice the science of bhakti that progressively puts us in the higher mode. First mode of goodness, and then on that basis to come to the mode of pure goodness. And that's what's going to be described here. Now there's another verse I wanted to share with you. Oh yes, Prabhupada mentions here in the purport that the living entity is without change. Now this is there in the second chapter when it's describing the soul. I remember that. Avyaktoyam achintoyam avikaryoyam uchate. It is said that the soul is invisible, avyakta, inconceivable, achintya, and immutable, unchangeable. That's avikarya, the same word is used here. And also, another interesting thing here is that he mentions here, it keeps going with the qualities. No. That he doesn't move. You remember that? Yeah. Achedayam adayam akleshashoja evacha nitya sarvakatak stana achaloyam sanatana. Immovable. Now that's interesting, that's immovable. We're going everywhere, going all over the place. You know, we run from here to there, and we leave this body, go up and down the different planets, how are we immovable? Isn't that an interesting idea? Just as we're avikari, we're not changing, we're also not moving ultimately. Because space and time don't pertain really to spirit. We say that, it is described that we're in a universe which is covered by 7 coverings: earth, water, fire, air, ether, the Mahatattva and the false ego, and each one 10 times bigger than the last. Say the universe is this universe is supposed to be 4 billion miles wide, so you get a 40 billion mile thickness of Earth, a 400 billion mile thickness of water, and on and on. So you've got this little, relatively speaking, a little speck of space which we're living in a huge golf ball, like that. So now, if we want to get to Goloka Vrindavan, we got to penetrate all those coverings, and we got to go through the Brahmajyoti, and finally reach Goloka Vrindavan. How are we immovable? Even in this little earth plane, we're moving all over the place. But in its essence, spirit doesn't move. Just as the Goloka Vrindavan is actually, truly all-pervading. It's everywhere. We just don't see it. We're seeing the energy as matter, and we're forgetting all about what's the underlying reality. Just as we don't see the super soul or the soul. But they're there. Krishna is everywhere. Right? The super soul is all-pervading. So this unchangeability, avikarya and achala. When we wake up from this long nightmare of material life, we'll realize we didn't go anywhere. This is the no-fall. This is the true no-fall philosophy. We fell from the spiritual world? No, we never fall from the spiritual world. This is the debates going on now for 30 years. So in truth, we don't fall anywhere because we don't go anywhere. How can we fall if we don't move? You see? But our consciousness can change, can be covered in such a way that we feel it like we're fallen, that we're billions and trillions of miles away from Goloka Vrindavan. But actually, when we become fully Krishna conscious, as Prabhupada mentions in this purport, I believe, one of these purports I was reading, is that the realized souls really live on two planes. They're actually living in Goloka, within their heart, serving Krishna in intimacy, seeing all the Leela being enacted, but at the same time externally. They're dealing with this material world to try to help people get out of it. This is inconceivable for us now. But that's actually how it works. And that position of unchangeability, Prabhupada also quotes this verse from the Bhagavatam, the definition of mukti. Does anyone know that phrase? Muktir hitpanyata rupam swarupena vyavastati. This is in the second canto, where there's kind of a table of contents, describes the 10 subjects of the Bhagavatam. And one of them is mukti. And each one has a little definition what it is. And this one is the most quoted. So mukti is hitva anyata rupam, to give up all other forms, such as the one we have now. And this one is also changing. The material energy is constantly changing. The living entity never changes. But we've lost our awareness of that unchanging form and quality and activity that we have in relation to Krishna. And we're absorbed in these constantly changing qualities. This is why we can never find any peace. Because within ourselves, we're feeling, I'm Satchidananda. This is what we're trying to get back to, but we have no real understanding of how to get back to that. We want to be eternal. We want to be full of bliss, right? We don't want to die. Don't want to get old. Does anyone want to get old? I don't want to get old, but I'm getting old. Against all my wishes. Can't stop it. So it's unnatural for the soul. So and we certainly don't want to die. Even the little ants and the insects, they'll struggle like anything to try to avoid death. Sometimes I get one of these big date bugs in my house, You've seen them, right? Flying dates. And so I have this strategy. I don't want to kill the poor guy, But when I go after him, that's all he can think of. Oh, this is my death now. I have to do whatever, evasive things and flying a little bit, which is freaks you out. And I get him on the little dustpan, and then if I shake him, he has no footing, and get him out the door and throw him out. And I don't know, then he's thinking, well, how did it happen? I wasn't killed, what kind of predator is this? Anyway, but from the insects to the birds, the beasts, all the way up to Lord Brahma, everybody is worried about death. It doesn't want to do it because it's unnatural for the soul to die. So once we get, and we're identifying and living on the spiritual platform, swarupena, living in our swarup. Swarup, there's something called swarup siddhi. That's your awareness, awakening to your actual form. in relation to Krishna. Each of us has a specific service, a variety, within the basic categories of friendship and parental rasa and servitude and conjugal rasa. There are unlimited varieties, just as there are on the material plane. All kinds of nuances. So we have a specific body and a specific mind that's perfectly suited to serve Krishna like that eternally, with unlimited varieties. But within that, so that's our swarup. So once we give up all these forms, these material forms, no more, hitva anyatarup, and swarupena vastati, being completely situated eternally in your form, that's called mukti. Not just, it's not a negative, just a negative thing. In other words, the negative is giving up all the forms, but the positive is being situated in the swarup. Now what is that swarup? That's the process, discovering that is the process of bhakti. The basic rasa is servitorship. So everybody begins bhakti, that's what we do. You have to serve Krishna, serve the spiritual master, serve the other devotees, serve prasadam, serve out prasadam. So, but that's the basis. And all the others, then the details, they come later as we become more and more pure, it becomes revealed to us. That's the whole idea. So this is how the living entity is achala, not really moving, because not really changing. And the spiritual world, there's no time, there's no space in as we know it here also. Like the gopis, even in this Vrindavan, we just had Govardhan Puja, and one of the most famous verses that they chant in the Venu Geet is said that Radharani is chanting this verse, Hantaya mandadabala hari dasya varyo, yadrama Krishna charanaspada shapramoda. They're saying, not alas, but oh my goodness, this hill is the best servant of Hari. Hari dasya varya. Because it provides cool, pure water for his boys and for the cows, and very nourishing grasses and edible bulbs and things and caves and all kinds of things for Krishna's service and for the service of his dearmost friends and cows. And therefore, it's the dearest to Krishna, the dearest friend of Krishna, this Govardhan hill. But they're saying this hill, they're back in Braj churning butter, and Krishna is miles away by present calculation, wandering in Govardhan Hill and in the forest. And they're seeing all this with their spiritual vision. So they're feeling like they're right next to him. You see? So the space doesn't mean anything. Just as time has no meaning on the spiritual plane. And so therefore we are achala. And unchanging means that we're in asarup. There's no change. You know why it's called Bhava Sagara? Bhava means change, and Sagara means ocean. This world is an ocean of change. Birth, death, old age, and disease, those are all changes. And all the little ones in between. There's no real steadiness here. We're on a boat in an ocean, right? There's no steadiness on a boat. And so it's a dangerous place. So, but when we are able to transcend the modes through bhakti, and awaken to our real life, then we're just like the sun, and the water may be reflecting, but you're the sun, you're not affected by your reflection. Now our original consciousness is reflected in this material body, right? But it's just like this ocean with its waves changing. Everything is always changing with the body. We're getting older. All of us are a day older than we were yesterday, right? That's a change. And little changes, they add up to big changes eventually. And then the big change is death, So if we identify with this ever-changing body, we'll feel like we're changing, and we'll feel like we're unsteady, and we can never be happy and peaceful. But if we transcend the bodily limits by transcending the modes of nature, then we'll feel like the sun. Sun is not affected. So many things, so-called happiness, so-called distress, will remain equipoised. There's so much instruction like that in the Bhagavad Gita, beginning 2nd chapter, right? Raga dvesha vimuktaistu vishayanindriyaischanan atpravasya videyatma prasadam adhigacchati. To really get the prasadam, or the grace of the Lord, we have to come to this point of raga dvesha vimukta, being liberated from attachment and aversion. Those are the two sides to the same coin. As soon as you go for the attachment and get the pleasure, you're going to have the aversion and the displeasure. I love this verse by Prahlad Maharaj, I always quote it. Yasmat priya yoga sayoga janma shokagnina sakata yona shudayaman. In 2 lines he describes the material situation. Those things which are dear to you, beginning with your body, or maybe just your health, or parts, of your function, eventually they're taken away from you. Sometimes suddenly in youth, right? You lose something, or you lose your whole life. So that's priya viyoga. The separation from the things which are most dear to you, the dear child, your beloved, whatever, your health, the food, whatever. We have so many things that we need, that we like, that we are important to us, and eventually they're taken away. Or your ability to interact with them and enjoy them is taken away. There's a wonderful feast, but you can't enjoy it. Your digestive problem. That's the source of misery. So on the other side, the things which you don't want are forced upon you. That's called apriya sayoga. Apriya sanyoga. Now this constitutes, both of these sides constitute a fire of lamentation. Shokagnina. And not just in this one life, but in all different species that we've been, sakala yonishu, dahyamana. I'm burning in this fire of lamentation caused by the things that are dear to me taken away and the things that I hate pushed upon my face, All right, so I'm a human being now. I can have various remedies for this. I can, I have a defense against this. I can adjust my environment. These are called dukkha aushadam. These are called the remedies for the dukkha. And now I'm finding that the remedies cause more dukkha. Pesticides. We have to have it. We can have huge, we can feed the world. We just have to be able to grow, millions more than we could and get rid of those damn pests. Well, the pesticides build up in the environment and they eventually get into your body. And some of those pesticides they not only kill the pests, they can kill you or, damage your health badly. So that's a perfect example of one of unlimited, infinite, dukkha aushadam tadapi dukkam. The remedies for the misery cause more misery. And then all of it is caused by this one little mistake. Atadiyaham. I am thinking of something I'm not. Atadiyaham. You analyze it, it's very concise. So then what's the solution? Last line of the verse. He's praying to Nrsingadev. Bhumam Brahmami Vadame Tabadasya Yogam. My dear, great one, he's speaking to Nrsingadev, massive form, with big teeth and power. Oh, great one, please instruct me in your dasya yoga, which is another way of saying bhakti yoga. That's the answer. Another verse in the same line, there's many like this. Uddhava says to Krishna in the middle of the Uddhava Gita, Dashtam janam sampatitam bilesmin kalahina chuddusukoro tarsham. It says, I've fallen into this world which is like a big snake hole. And the snake of time is in this thing. It's threatening me. I've bitten me. In other words, I'm mortal. I'm going to die, And despite this threat, and despite being in this dangerous condition, I'm still very, very desirous. I still am aspiring to enjoy insignificant sense gratification. Chudra sukha. Chudra sukha means insignificant happiness of sense gratification. Urutasha. I have a great thirst for these things, in spite of being in the Holocaust. As Bhaktivinoda says in his song, I'm still trying to enjoy this Holocaust. It's madness. So now he prays, Sambuddharayanam kripaya bhavarga vachobadasincha mahanubhava. Oh great Lord, please lift me up out of this well. Save me by sprinkling upon